Hey guys, Bump here, bringing you this 10.2 Unholy Death Knight video talking about essentially my prediction of how strong Unholy Death Knight will be in 10.2 and essentially how it will feel to play. So to be able to gauge that, we start with the current patch. So how strong is Unholy currently in Raid and Myth Plus, and then we'll look at, okay, so what changes until the next patch, and then let's make our prediction based off that. So to start off, Unholy in the current patch in Raid is ridiculously strong. Okay? Like, there is no other spec. It's Unholy and Augmentation. If you look at all the top logs, you can see me in a couple of those actually. That's all Augmentation and Unholy working together to deal insane amounts of damage. Unholy is currently S tier, essentially, in Raid. For Mythic Plus, Unholy is pretty much in the gutter, which is quite interesting. It has this weird issue of being incredibly strong in very specific scenarios, but those scenarios do not translate into pushing high keys. We didn't have an MDI this season, but if we had one, Unholy would have been there. Because Unholy does insane damage in really big pools, so if you're doing something like the MDI, you can bring in Unholy and it will just top the damage, no problem. Not 100% sure that will be true this tier with, fire being so strong, but that's kind of the vibe. So, to recap, current tier, Unholy is S tier in Raid, and really quite bad in Mythic Plus. It's also Frost being better in Mythic Plus makes Unholy worse, because, why would we play Unholy when you can play Frost? Which does significantly more damage when there's smaller target counts, where Unholy has a really big weakness. Anyway, so what changes in 10.2 and how is that going to affect the Unholy Death Knight viability? To start off, the Unholy damage profile changes slightly. So damage is moved around from our 3-minute burst into, our standard 45-second window, as well as like constant damage coming from a core rotation. This will lower peak deep burst by like 15%. But the total damage will stay the same, essentially. Furthermore, Power Infusion is getting nerfed, so the amount of haste you get is getting nerfed, so it's not going to be like as important, and it's not going to influence the meta that much. Finally, Augmentation is getting changed as well. Instead of essentially prior buffing 2 targets a lot, like currently you have 4 Augmentation focus buffing 2 Unholy DKs, that's the meta. Next patch, you're essentially going to have 4 targets. You're still going to want that big bursty classes in combination with the ones that deal more flat damage, and Unholy will still be strong there. But you're now buffing 4, so being one of the 2 doesn't matter as much anymore. Right. How does this impact the raid? So you might have seen the new sims that come out. I can show you some here that people have put together. These are a bit inaccurate, by the way, because not all specs have actually put in the effort to sort out the APL and do the proper gearing and stuff. But you can still see Unholy is close to bottom. You might be really worried here and be like, oh, hang on. Oh no, Unholy is going to be terrible next pair. It's almost bottom in simulations. Well, take a look at the current ones. These are for the current patch where Unholy is S tier in Raid, and you can see Unholy is pretty much bottom as well. Essentially, Unholy has a toolkit which just works really well in Raid. The big burst windows means that we are, more resilient to downtime, to mechanics. Like, we just need to get our damage out in those 3-minute burst windows, and then we're fine. This means that even though we're low on simulations, we can easily put out our damage in a Raid environment. And then we have PI and Augmentation, and those two together just means we do so much damage. That argument doesn't work as well next tier, right? We might not get Power Infusion. We're going to be one of the targets that, potentially can get it, but it's not going to be clear cut as it is currently. And we're not going to be synergizing sort of Augmentation. And those two are like two really big factors in why Unholy is so strong. So just off that, Unholy will come down. It won't be S tier anymore. I don't think it's going to be S tier. Okay. Further than this, we also need to talk about gearing, because like trinkets available in the next patch will also matter when you evaluate the spec. Luckily for us, Mirror of Fractured tomorrow's mirror, you know, the trinket we're using. That's going to be available next patch from Myth Plus, which is great. So we're going to have a really solid on use. And there's also a number of like passive options that we can, you know, combine it with. So if you guys remember when we moved to 10.1.5, we were like, oh no, Posse box is going away. Was that 10.1 actually? I think it was. And we were like, Unholy's going to be terrible. That's not going to happen this time around. Unholy got the trinkets it need to function well in the raid. Finally, we also have a new legendary, which no one knows anything about. We're not going to get that until a couple of weeks into the tier, so it's difficult to kind of see, you know, when Unholy get the legendary, we're probably going to be strong. But until then, we won't be as strong, so probably progression won't be that Unholy centered, like race the world first, that kind of thing. Anyway, let's take a step back and summarize. So, Unholy is gonna be worse in the next patch compared to current one. That would be strange if that wasn't the case because it's so broken this time around, right? We're gonna have less burst, less PI, less augmentation synergy. Still, I think the fact that we have such an easy time to put out damage, we can time our damage bursts with damage increase windows. For instance, on the first boss and on Smolderon, they have those windows, even though they don't match off completely. That's a big win for us. We are very resilient to both downtime and damage. We're incredibly tanky, and we don't care if we need to like run away from the boss a little bit, as long as it's not in the tiny window. We'd actually send out sword CDs. So in raid, I think Unholy is gonna, you know, take a step back, be mid-tier. Essentially, that's my prediction. Now, Mythic Plus, what changes? So the fact that our damage profile evens out is a buff to Mythic Plus. There's lots of the abilities that deal damage in Mythic Plus got buffed, like Clawing Shadows, for instance. Furthermore, our tier set is a really big cleave factor. It deals damage to 4 targets, which is something we've been terrible at. Like if you're hitting 3 targets as Unholy, you're doing really bad damage. So the fact that we're going to do good damage now on cleave target is a big gain. And it's going to mean that we won't immediately look at dungeon and say, oh, hang on, not big enough pools, Unholy won't do much damage. I definitely think our damage, our useful damage, is going to increase significantly in 10.2 Mythic Plus. Still, we have the issue that our utility is not the best in a sense. As in, sure, we are very tanky, but we have like grip and interrupt and mass and combat rest, that kind of thing. It still doesn't quite bring over the line to go, oh, Unholy, very useful. It's like a rogue, we can bring that, even though it doesn't do the best priority and important damage, right? So I don't think we're going to be as worse. We're going to go into like the middle, probably close to Frost, but we're not going to be meta there either. Right. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about this. What do you predict Unholy DK going to be in 10.2? Strong, weak, middle? Let me know. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Bye bye.